Hi, my name is Christy Whitman, and this is Your Superior Self.
Christy Whitman, thank you for taking the time. I feel like I attracted this, I think, a little bit.
Well, we
I don't know.
attract everything.
Yeah, I think I put an intention out there that I wanted to talk to you, Christy Whitman, and look at you. Now you're here. Now you're on
That's
my show.
amazing. I love it.
Thank you for taking the time. How are you?
Absolutely. What do you want to chat about?
I want to know about the law of attraction. I want to know what it is. How can I access it? How can I apply it more to my life? And is it real?
Well, yes, first of all, it's very real. And it's one of, I should say, the universal laws, not the only law. And really to state what law of attraction is that we've always felt it. We've always been around it. We've always been aware of it. We probably just weren't aware of it in these terms. But what you focus on becomes more of itself. Another way of saying it is you think of something or someone, and then all of a sudden they call you. You put an intention out to have someone as a guest, and then someone pitches you, or you contact them, or, they somehow get on your show. It's like a synchronicity. Some would call it serendipity. Other people call it cause and effect. Other people call it karma. It's all the same thing. It's what you send out in your energy field. That's what you are then matching and bringing to you in your life. So when you think about it, we are, of course, physical, right? And we live in a third dimensional reality, but what's breathing us, what's beating our heart is the non-physical. And that non-physical is energy. And we as a human being are always receiving in energy. We're either picking it up from our family members, from our neighbors, from our friends, our coworkers, whomever, the news, social media, people at the grocery store, right? It's like we're picking up energy. And when we pick up on the negative energy, we feel the negative energy. We feel that mood. All of a sudden we can feel knocked off, or feel maybe frustrated or angry or just impatient, or, that kind of thing. When we are conscious that there is unlimited energy, and that energy is pure and positive, and that energy is actually our source, we can bring that energy in deliberately. So we're deliberately choosing the type, the frequency, the vibration of energy we want to bring into our body. So for example, if someone wants to feel successful, right? A lot of times we think, oh, let me go get a sharp suit, or let me go get a nice outfit, or let me, with the clothes that I wear, or the bag that I wear, or the car that I'm driving. Or when we want to feel successful, it's a frequency, it's a vibration. So, and it's also part of our divine design. So it's a natural way of us to step into that energy of success. But when we can feel successful without having to go get anything to put airs on or masks or anything else, the feeling of success draws in more things to match that vibration of success. So you get the job, you get the clients, you get the promotion, because you're already in a place of success. You're not lacking success. So one of the universal laws that I talk about is the law of sufficiency and abundance. And to understand that is to understand that everything here on planet Earth in this 3D world is polarity. Everything has a full spectrum. And one of those spectrums, if you will, is lack and abundance. So lack, let me just paint the picture. We all know it well. It doesn't feel good. We feel separated from something. We feel we're missing out on something, or we miss something. There's a lot of competition, a lot of dog eat dog kind of thing. There's a lot of drama, chaos. This is where the emotions and the feeling sense of frustration, anger, disappointment, worry, doubt, fear, sadness, like those emotions are on that side of the spectrum, because it's in a perspective of lack. So lack always feels bad. But the polar opposite of that is abundance. And that's our natural state of being. Abundance feels good. It's where all the positive emotions are. It's where we feel expanded instead of constricted. It's based on letting energy flow through us instead of being in a place of being anchored by imprints and bushwhacks and old programming that's limited. So it's a spectrum. And there's a tipping point from lack to abundance. And that tipping point is satisfaction. Satisfaction feeling like, hey, I'm excited for what's coming, but I'm at least satisfied for where I'm at. You're not coming from lack, right? You're not coming from, I'm a failure. You're coming from, I already have success. You're looking for the successful aspects, the positive aspects of your life, what you've created, and then dreaming and desiring and looking for more of what's coming up ahead. But it's that point that gets us out of dissatisfaction or lack and into at least satisfaction, because that's the doorway into abundance. So now, based on that spectrum, right, we're the ones that choose which energy frequency we want to be on. So if I'm saying, well, wait a minute, if lack is bad and it doesn't feel good, well, why would I want to be there? I want to be on the abundance side. So then that's up to us to filter and vibrate with, resonate with the energy of abundance. That includes the words that we say, the thoughts that we think, the perspectives that we hold, the emotions that we either feel or don't feel, and of course, the actions that we take. So when we can deliberately choose, I want to fill myself up with a higher energy of joy, success, abundance, and then we attune ourselves, our thoughts, our words, whatever we think about, whatever we're perceiving, to that energy, we are then creating momentum that goes out of us, that transmits out of us, and we're attracting to us more frequencies and vibrations. What that looks like in our formed world is more situations, more relationships, more people, more circumstances, more formed things that match that vibration of what we're sending out. It's like a beacon call. You know, it's like a signal we're sending out. We get that back, because this is not an assertion-based universe. It's an attraction-based universe.
I love that. But how do we keep that stamina, right? Like, it's easy to have or hear these conversations and then get that momentum built up again, or maybe build that momentum during these conversations. But as the life goes on, as I get into day 5 or day 6 of my work week, and all the stressors, kids, soccer practice, laundry, being a dad, being a mom, being a husband, being a wife, wears on you, right? That's just our everyday lives, right? How do you keep that stamina up?
I love that question. We have to figure out what works for us, because a lot of times people say, oh, meditate, right? Well, a lot of times when you are and do have a very full life, like you're describing, and I certainly have that too, 2 kids, they play football and soccer, you know, dad's got to drive them here and there. There's the whole teacher conference. One of our children right now is having a conversation with my husband about something that happened at school. I mean, just, you know, just the day-to-day grocery shopping. Hey, the kids need more socks. I mean, just the stuff that happens in our world. How do you stay grounded in it? And my thing is that energy is constant. It takes seconds to shift a vibration. It takes seconds to tune into a vibration. So instead of having to meditate all day long, or even do like a really big hour meditation, I even see with people that do those, they meditate in the morning, they feel all great for the day, and about 2 o'clock, they hit a wall. That's when they got to reach for the sugar or the coffee or something else to externally stimulate them, or their mood goes down, they feel grumpy, whatever that is. So this actually works better. When you think about it, what do we do as humans all day long to care for our bodies? We drink. Hopefully we're drinking water throughout the day, right? And what comes with that is we eliminate. That just is a human thing that we do throughout the day. We feed ourselves. We get hungry throughout the day, right? There are things that we need to check in with ourselves and maintain our bodies and our minds and our emotions, in our energy, is by attuning into our energy. So like when you go and drink a glass of water, or you're taking that meal, or you're, you know, eliminating whatever it is that you're doing, you're at a stop sign, whatever that happens. If you just stop and attune and ask for the energy, when you start to feel depleted, instead of trying to go outside of yourself, or you're feeling that stress, all you have to do is stop and let yourself connect with the energy of what you want to feel. Because obviously, if you're stressed, you don't want to feel stressed. So ask yourself, instead of being stressed, how do I want to feel? I want my day to flow. I want to feel good in my day. I want to feel like I'm balancing everything, and everything is just, it's like the guy at the circus that spins all the plates. It's like you're properly spinning all the plates and everything is just flowing together. That is energy. And we can, by understanding that we are energy receivers, and just by stopping and just asking the universe, God, the divine, whatever you want to call it, stop and let yourself, it's like, imagine that you're under a shower head of light and you're just being filled with that energy of compassion, success, love, well-being, vitality, whatever it is that you want. And it just takes about less than 2 minutes, it takes about 90 seconds to actually process an emotion, and also to be filled up and change your state of vibrational experience.
Mm-hmm. You sound like the authority on law of attraction. You sound like the authority on abundance. You are also an energy healer and a channeler. But it wasn't always that simple. That wasn't always your story. You were in sales, right? 29. It looked like you had everything, all the external successes that society says we must have to be happy, but you in fact were not. And now we're talking about abundance, law of attraction. Where was the mind shift? Where was the awakening? Where was the truth found for you?
Well, I was living in Chicago, and I was about 27 years old when this happened, and I was engaged to be married. I had the body that I wanted. I had a career that was, on fire. So I had money coming in. I pretty much everything I was told would make me happy. So you got the money success, the career success, the relationship success, the body success. What more can a girl want? I felt depressed because I felt like, oh, I got it all, but none of this is fulfilling me. I mean, this really is, these things and accomplishing these things and having these things, these aren't the key to happiness, which is what they told. I don't know who they are, but they told me that, right? I knew that. And I checked the box for all of it, and I'm still not happy. So I started asking those questions. Well, if not this, then what? What is there more of? What is this life really all about if it's not checking the box for the things that you want? And that hunger, that thirst led me on a journey, which I didn't know I was really going on at this point. But I ended up breaking off my engagement. I ended up moving to Northern California in the Bay Area. I met a guy. So I did a lateral move with my company, got there within a few weeks, saw that he was a bad boy, and I always loved the bad boys. And so I broke it off with him. So here I'm in the city of, San Francisco, basically the Bay Area of San Francisco. I don't know anybody. And the one person he introduced me to was a hairdresser. I need to get my hair cut. So I went to go get my hair cut, and Janine is her name. And she and I were having a conversation as she's cutting my hair, but I'm noticing she's really different. She's different than me. And she's definitely different than any person I'd ever met. And so, not having the understanding of why she's different, but I'm intrigued, I asked her, I said, what do you do? And she said, I meditate. And for me, at this point in life, there was no internet, there was no secret, there was no coaches around at this time. I literally said to her, what do you do? And she said, I meditate. And my mind, like, I thought of the guru guy sitting on top of a mountain, in the white robe, long beard, him oming. And here was a lady from San Ramon, totally hip, really cool chick. I'm like, whoa, paradigm shift, right? So she introduced me to her meditation teacher. And I went to Melanie's house, and it was very different, clinky clanky new age music. And there were, angel statues all over the place, and incense and candles and all of this. And we sit down on a cushion on the floor. And she said to me, you create your own reality. And when she said that to me, something in me knew that to be the truth. It's like, yes, I do. Wait, how do I know that? How do I do that? And so I said, how do I create my own reality? And she explained to me, and what I now understand and know is that our consciousness creates our reality. It's what we say, it's what we think, what we believe, what we perceive, what we feel, what we do. All of that creates our reality. But she started with thoughts. She said, well, your thoughts, you're either repelling things from you or attracting things to you based on the way you think. Now, this was another way I think. Because at that point in my life, I thought I was my thoughts. I thought the thoughts that I heard myself say were true. I didn't know that I could challenge them. And if it said, you're ugly, or you're short, or you're fat, or you're, incapable, I believed it. I believed those thoughts. So fast forward again, here I am in Chicago, or backwards, I guess. If I have this inner dialogue going in all the time about whatever I accomplished, it still wasn't enough, it's still lacking, it's still not good enough, how could I actually be happy with the things that I accomplished? Because that internal tape of not enough. And that's where I started looking at, well, thoughts. Which thoughts feel good and which thoughts feel bad, and which ones are real and which ones are not. And so I started digging into and started just like feverishly becoming a student of what is a negative thought, what is a lack thought, what is a abundance thought. So I started studying the difference between lack and abundance. And the Cliff Note version that I got to is that lack always feels bad. So you don't even have to know, oh, is this frustration or anger? Or am I just, you don't have to know what the emotion is. All you have to know is that this thought is limiting me because it doesn't feel good. That's lack. So what is that thought? So I can find the abundance of it, that I just don't have enough time. That's not true. I have all the time I need, right? I would get asked all the time when I was doing interviews or launching books, people would say, how do you take this esoteric thing called the law of attraction and then like practically apply it? And I would say over and over and over again, you have to watch your words. Like I said, 20 something years ago, I started with my thoughts. Watching your thoughts is harder than watching what you say. And you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. Cause I apologize, right? A lot. Right. So I say, I'm sorry, right? I'm trying to change that to, and then here you go. I just said, I'm trying, right? I am, or I apologize instead of I'm sorry, or just little things like that I try to watch what I say. It's very important, I think, just this self conversation that we have with, inside of ourselves, but nobody can hear us, right? But us.
Right.
That ego, right, likes to tear us down. The inner voice, the quiet, higher being that is inside of us tries to empower us, but sometimes the ego is so loud that we can't hear that voice. And what I hear you saying is watch and edit the ego, right? You can I don't want to say you can tame the ego, but you can definitely monitor how much influence it has on your life.
Well, let's talk about the ego, because, when you really think about it from a big perspective, even the ego was created for our development. Your personality, let's just call personality instead of ego, because the word ego gets a bad rap, and, kill the ego and get rid of the ego and all that stuff. My personality is totally different than your personality. And the unique divine that is breathing you, and that is your life, that is the extension of the divine, that creator part creates differently through you than it would through me, just from the mere fact of we have different preferences and we have different opinions and we have different, life programming, and just the difference, just you're male, I'm female,
Sure.
Just even the different perspectives. And that's what the divine loves. It created all of us to be very different. We don't all look alike. We don't all act alike. We've all been given free will to choose our words, to choose our thoughts, to feel or not feel, to take an action or to not take an action. And so all of that in the totality is part of the human experience. The part that we want to transmute, or that we want to heal, or that we want to evolve, is the limited parts of us, the parts that are not aligned with that divine abundance that's within us, that's breathing us. But to say, let's get rid of the ego, or, let's eliminate the ego altogether, I'm pretty feisty. I like that about myself. The divine likes that about myself. It's part of my ego, right? But the feistiness, if taken to certain extremes, right, it could become too much. It could be, sometimes I'm out of alignment because I'm so feisty. Other times I'm in alignment because I'm so feisty. But it's those are characteristics and traits and qualities and skills and gifts that, talents that each of us have that are different. It's the ones that tell us, it's the thoughts and the mindset that tells us that we're not good enough or that we're limited. That's what we want to evolve.
Sure.
And so it's really is not, am I in my ego or not? It's, am I aligned right now? How do I know if I'm aligned? I feel good. Okay, I'm good then. If I'm feeling limitation, am I feeling like, okay, well, I can't do that, or I'm afraid of something, or I'm doubting myself? That's the part of us we want to find within us, and especially within the mind, because that's what we can then change. The mind's job, or if you want to call it the ego's job, the mind's job is to say, okay, here's an opportunity that pops up, or here's a dream that you have, or a new desire that you have. The mind looks through the file cabinets of our mind, right, of what it knows to be true from this moment beforehand. And it looks at, well, you've never done that before, so therefore you can't do it. You don't know how to do that. Therefore, it's not possible. Like, the mind will conclude things that it is limited in its scope, and it will always be limited in its scope as compared to the divine, infinite potential.
Sure.
Right. So it's when we hear that mind who's doing its job to say, you know what, Trey, if you do this, these are all the possible things that could go wrong and more, right? The mind wants to come up and tell you, I've got it figured out. These are the bombs to avoid, and these are the obstacles to avoid. When you play and understand with the mind, when you feel that totality with your mind, even with the ego, then you get to understand, what do you need to look out for? What do you need to develop?
Yeah,
what are your possible limitations that you could evolve past? Go ahead.
Sure. Well, I was just going to add, well, sometimes the ego, right? Like it's like a recorder, and it's like all the voices that have ever told you that you're not good enough over your life. And you hear this all the time. And if you hear it enough, you start thinking it's your own voice, when in actuality, it's all the voices, all the people that have been not detrimental, but have been sort of a negative energy in your life, right? Whether it's a past partner, a past parent, friend, whatever, school bully, whatever, saying these things. You're not smart enough. You're not good enough. You'll never do this. You'll never blah, 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 fill in the blanks. And you hear that over time, and it's like, maybe it's not the ego. Maybe it's just our trauma that's in our body that we can't get, we haven't healed yet, but we hear these voices over and over again, and we associate it with the ego, because we always think that the ego is bad, when in actuality, it's just, I like how you said personality. I like that. I like that a lot better than ego. I guess it's because, yes, Trey is unique in itself, right? Like, even if I'm not the body, even if I am just consciousness here, having an experience, I'm having an experience as Trey. And I like that. I guess one of my main questions for you, right, is freedom, right? I want to obtain freedom. Now, I don't know right now if freedom means, will I ever obtain internal freedom, intrinsic freedom, where nothing bothers me, or is it freedom of creation, being able to empower myself, that creator that's inside of myself, to create the reality that brings freedom? Does that make sense? Like,
totally.
That's the battle that I'm right now in, where it's like, do I sit and meditate and try to have this intrinsic freedom where nothing bothers me, that I have no attachments, or is it the freedom that is obtained by the creator that's inside of me? And I would love to hear your opinion on that.
Yeah. So freedom on all levels. I mean, freedom means different things in different aspects. Like you're saying, that freedom to be so neutral to other people's energy and to never get knocked off ever again, to have that freedom. Yes, that's a sense of freedom, but to understand that you can have the majority, the best way the council has ever said this is, The majority of people live in suffering and negative energy to have moments of joy, right? Those just moments of that. But what we're talking about and this paradigm shifting that, and how I've totally changed my life, is living in moments of joy and abundance with a moment of irritation or a moment of hurt feelings, but then knowing what to do when the things in the world, the contrast in the world, whatever it may be, when an energy comes in and knocks you off, to notice that you're knocked off and then get back in alignment without beating yourself up for being knocked off. Right. Yeah. So it's like having that perfectionistic, like I always got to be on, nothing can ever upset me. Nothing can, that sounds like bondage. Freedom is to giving yourself the ability to feel what you feel, to literally let yourself be with those expressions of feeling, or that whatever it is, good or bad or indifferent, but to feel the freedom of, vices, to feel the freedom of with money, to feel the freedom in your career to create, to feel the freedom in your emotions and your state of being, to choose what you do in your calendar day, to choose who you want to associate with and work with. I mean, freedom is an energy, it's a state of being, and it's something that as you bring in, it's like we talked about earlier, like when you're bringing in that state of freedom, like you just feel like you're flying from within, that energy essence of freedom, which is so easy for us to connect with because it's part of our divine design. When we feel that sense of freedom, and all of us as a personality have been given free will and choice, right? That essence of freedom, that's when you're going to see it reflect from every single angle. And when you are bumping up against something in your life that makes you feel that you're stuck, that makes you feel like you're in bondage, where you're like, this is the exact opposite of freedom, that's an opportunity to see that's where the stuck energy is. And that belief, that imprint, that, that trauma, that pain body, that can actually be released so that you can expand more of your psyche, more of your emotional body, more of your energy body, more of your physical body can be attuned to that energy of freedom. But it's like having a container. If this container was completely filled all the way to the top, there's no way to pour something new in there. So if you're wanting a new frequency, a new energy to be freedom, whatever is already contained within you, because we're all containers of energy, if resentment and hurt is filling this container up, but you want to be free, the resentment and hurt has to be released in order to fill up with a new frequency and vibration.
Well, my next question is directly linked to that, right? Like we consciously, my conscious awareness is only 1% of what I am, according to Wayne Dyer and a lot of different mystics. But how do I know that the trauma is in my body, right? I know it's in the unconscious. I know it's in the shadow. How do I heal that? How do I consciously heal that when I'm not aware of it?
Well, that's the thing, is you don't want to go digging for it, but as you're moving about your day and all of a sudden you feel or hear that negative voice, you feel that you're being pulled back, you feel some kind of dissonance, some kind of stress, some kind of resistance in the body. That's the time where you do your energy mastery techniques. That's what the council and I teach, is that you feel yourself in that place of stress, in that place of resistance, and you allow yourself to move your conscious awareness into the resistance. So for example, if it's fear, understanding that fear is coming from lack, it's coming from a state of not enoughness. So what is that fear thought? What do I need to change that thought to? That there just isn't enough. You've used up all of your success, bubbles or whatever it is, or pebbles. You can't create any more success. Whatever the thought is that's telling you that, is to look at that, lean into that and go, that's not true. And when you do that, when you feel that, it's like, it's kind of like a kid scared in their bed, thinking that there's a monster in the closet and they're scared. But if they got up and actually turned on the light, they could see that the little bit of openness in the closet, it's a coat. It's not an actual monster. Right. So it's like, stepping into and feeling your way into that resistance, into the unresolved energy. Because what happens when we get a trauma, we constrict, we get afraid, we constrict in. And when we constrict in, energy, because it never stops, energy continues to spiral and it creates a fast moving vortex. That vortex of blockedness of energy attracts to it more things of that same vibration. So if we're wanting a life that's, that's in a different vibration, everything that's not of that vibration is going to come up to be released. And so we don't have to go looking for it, right? It's going to show up. When it does, it's a matter of feeling that energy. It takes 90 seconds to actually process an emotion. All the emotional body starts in the belly. And when you can like constrict your belly and feel like the pulsation of energy, now you're letting the energy actually release from your body. And that's just step one, because then you want to connect with the energy of compassion. Compassion, not feeling sorry for yourself, totally different vibrations, but the energy of compassion. Compassion is like a neutralizer. It really just cleans the energy. And then you can connect back with a higher energy, a different frequency.
I love all of that. Yeah, I'm just now becoming consciously aware of the trauma that is in the body, right? Like unconscious, like it is there since I was a kid, and it comes up in my reactions. Like when I have a reaction to something, whether it's fight or flight or just slap knee reaction, a lot of that is from conditioning. A lot of that is from my past experience, and my body is reacting to a situation that it like you spoke of earlier, pulling it from the file of experiences. And now I am just pulling that data out and the computer is running that file. Now,
Yes.
in order to, that's why I wanted to know, is because if I'm not consciously aware of it, how much more of my life is it hindering, right? How much more of that abundance is it not allowing into my life to fill up that cup, to tap into that container? So it's so important to do the work. And I think what your work and why it's so important is because it shines a light on the unconscious that we're unaware of. A lot of people are. I'm a blue collar guy. I've worked hard for a lot of the things in my life, right? And that is the old paradigm, right? Like that's the old programming. And that is what I've been, raised on throughout my life. Hard work equals money. And then you never have enough money to pay the bills, and you got to work harder, even more. And it's always this idea of lack, and you have to bust your ass to get these things. And then you get these things and it's not what you think. And so my entire journey has been an awakening, reprogramming, and seeing a new paradigm and a paradigm shift. So I think your work is so important because it helps people like me who are blue collar resonate a little bit more with the higher self, and gain more wisdom and insight about how we can truly possibly flourish more in our lives. So with that, I want to say thank you for all the hard work. And I would love to receive some guidance from the council that I keep hearing about, if that's possible.
Yeah, let me go get them. We are here.
I want to
Hello,
say,
dear one.
Thank you for joining the show. I would love to know what it is that I need to hear right now to help me along my path to enlightenment.
Well, we would start by saying, knowing yourself of who you really are. The first place we would start with any human is letting you know that you mentioned Wayne Dyer and 1%. We like to say 4% of who you are, all of your programming, good, bad, or indifferent, all of the things that you know yourself to be, and how many days or years you've been in your physical body, no matter how tall or short, no matter how old you are. It's only and always continue to be until you live till even past 100. It's always about 4% of who you really are. But the 96% is divine. It is energy. And that energy, that creator, that life force that is breathing you is for you. It is different than sometimes, and we will say this, good intentioned people, but say your parents. If your parents had their own limitations on love, if they had their own stresses, if they had their own fears, their own worries, and that's pretty much the majority of your parents and their parents and their parents' parents, and on you go. If they didn't feel or know that they were the fullness of themselves, meaning you are 4%, the 96% is energy, and that energy is for you. It's not against you. It's not conditional. It's not, if you behave this way, you will then receive our love. When you get good grades and you live up to your potential, then we'll give you the good boy, attaboy, and give you the slap on the back saying, great job. The divine is not human. It is energy, and it is constant. It is unchanging. It is always there. It is your divine life partner. And so those parts of you that were backed into a limited corner for you to identify yourself as a certain way, then what we would say is challenge those limited ways of thinking, those limited programming, because none of them feel good. And all of them block you from the fullness of who you really are. So when you start to feel that the heart is beating, it's beating with you and it's beating for you, but you are the conduit, you are the container for the divine. Christy showed you her water bottle. If you were to walk up to a faucet and turn on the faucet, the water would just go down the sink. You need a container in order to bring the water around with you. Well, you are the container of the divine, of the creator, and it wants to do with you and through you what it cannot do when it is just pure positive energy. It created you and your personality, all of your likes, all of your dislikes, all of your history, because it is creating a very different version of itself, which is you, which is glorious, which is infinitely loved, which is adored. There is not one of you that is not seen as a precious child of this universe. There is not one of you that must prove your significance or importance or that you matter, because each of you do. And the evidence of it is because you are here. You are breathing. The divine is pulsating its energy through you. From a soul's perspective, there are thousands and thousands of units of consciousness that want to come in as a soul and have a life experience. You're here. You got it. From a physical level, there were trillions of sperm that all went to the race, and you are here. You got the job. You've already been proven on many levels. Now stop trying to prove yourself and just be the authentic you that you were designed to be.
When we're in this reality and we awaken to the divine that we are, and we want to create a different reality, how do we draw from that power of which we are from?
We love this question very much, and we'll tell you why. Because whenever you have any contrast, it could be extreme contrast or a little annoyance. Whenever there's contrast, meaning you look at some aspect of your life and you do not see what pleases you, you find that you are disappointed or that you are frustrated with an aspect or area of your life, you can take that contrast and look at it and say, okay, I know what I do not want. What do I want? Put your focus, all of your focusing, your free will on what you do want. Now, the programming will say, well, you can't have that, or you're too old for that, or you're not good enough for that. No, what do I want? Why do I want it? Now, when you start thinking about why you want to make more money, or when you want to find a partner, or when you want to create more career success, why do you want it? Because then that starts creating the energetic alignment with your emotions. What do you want? Why do you want it? And ultimately, how do you want to feel? Because any reason you want to get out of contrast, any reason you want to create something new, or that you want a desire or a goal to be attained, is because you think you will feel the essence of that when you get there. But you must feel the essence of it now and then attract it to you. So what do you want? Why do you want it? How do you want to feel? The how you want to feel is the essence, and that is the energy that exists for you right now. There's nothing lacking. So if you notice you are in a relationship where you're not having the type of support you want, then go to the source and fill up with support. If you feel that you're not being understood, or you do not have compassion from somebody, let yourself have your own self-compassion. If you feel there's a lot of criticism that is coming from someone, and you want to feel a sense of acceptance or self-love, give that love to yourself, because that essence and energy exists for you right now. You just have to learn how to allow, to open up, to receive, because it is all right there for you.
Is it wrong to want to recreate a reality because we want to see how powerful we are?
Yes, many of you humans like to test the universe. And a lot of times when you start to test your own power to deliberately create what you want, many people get scared, and that's when they start to sabotage. Am I really that powerful? And the reason is because if I'm really that powerful, then did I create all of those traumas? Did I create all of those pain points? Could I really eliminated all of that pain and suffering and have just created and powerfully lived my life? What if I start to really succeed and expand into a whole different way of being? What about all the people I love and that love me? Will they leave me behind? Will they try to take from me? There's a lot of different spectrums of why people want to pull themselves back from their own personal power.
How do we can any of us tap into that higher self that is in communication with you, the council?
Well, yes, all of you live multidimensionality. Yes, there is the physical you that is sitting there, but then there is the higher mind, which is the higher awareness, which is the higher self, if you will. And when you can be, is like you and Christy were talking about, when you can be the personality and really be full in your personality, really allowing yourself to be who you are meant to be, with having the conscious awareness, that is a total different level of your dimensionality. And then when you allow yourself to understand that you are the energy soul, you are the soul self that is giving life and purpose to your life of love, then you can live in the soul experience, being as a human being with soul dimension and soul energy. And then from there, the soul is the intermediary between the personality and the divine self being the great one, God, all that is, the great spirit, universal intelligence, however you want to term that. It's infinite energy, infinite potential. And it is you. It is the 96% of you. There's many, many levels, and you can pull in from that energy when you know that the energy is there for you. It's like having a treasure chest above your head with every coin, every jewel you could ever imagine. And they're called frequencies. Those frequencies are there and gifted to you. And those frequencies of energy create the forms in your experience.
Hmm. Well, that's all the questions I have for you. Thank you so much for helping me out.
We love your leading edge questions. They are very thought-provoking, and we are very grateful to be invited. We want to tell you and all of the ears that are listening right now that you are infinitely loved. Be well, dear ones. Allow yourselves to just receive a nice downpouring of light. Just imagine that you are under a waterfall of light and just letting yourself settle back in. Whew, how was that, Trey?
It was amazing, Christy. Thank you so much for gifting us that gift. I just think that very enlightening and very motivating, inspiring. I loved every second of it.
Awesome. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you for joining. How can people find out more about you? Where can they find your work?
Well, there's lots of different ways, but I was talking about earlier that I created a program, or we were talking about watching your words. I created a 30-day program. It's free. You can go to watchyourwords.com. And what it is 30 days in a row, you get a video every day. They're like 2 to 3 minutes in length, so they're quick. And they tell you what not to say, why, and what to say instead. So you might be surprised with some of the words or the phrases that are things that we shouldn't say, including should. And how when we understand that language, which is just all over our society, with that language, we understand that it's like anchors into lack. And that by shifting our thought process, by shifting what we say, then we change the opening of what we can actually attract into our lives and what we can receive. So you can go to watchyourwords.com, and my main website is christywhitman.com.
Christy Whitman. I loved every second of this conversation. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you so much.